Do you sometimes struggle against the French? Today we'll see how Bobby handled the French game against John F. Hurt, played in 1964. Bobby started off with e4, get the French on the board, and then Bobby develops a knight in order to recapture if black takes. We get bishop to b4, pinning the knight to the king. Bobby then plays a3, asking the bishop what he wants to do. We get takes and takes. So Bobby's queenside structure is a bit messed up, but on the other hand, Bobby's got the bishop pair to make up for that. We get knight to e7, preparing to castle. Bishop to d3, developing the kingside pieces as well. Get castles, knight to f3, knight to d7. So we can see John's playing a very compact game of chess. e5 from Bobby, just closing the center and just making some space for the bishops. f5 from John, and Bobby takes in order to, just like we said, to keep the board open. We get g takes on f6. Here the engine wanted knight takes as you mess up the pawn structure. So that's what the engine wanted. Anyway, we got castles and rook to f7, preparing to cheese Bobby down the g file. And we get rook to e1, noting the pawn is undefended. Knight to f8, defending the pawn and bringing the pieces closer to the king to make up for the pawn structure. Get knight to h4, knight f to g6 from John. Bobby brings the queen in to defend the knight. We get takes and takes. So the queen is nicely placed around black's king and the bishops are looking very strong. We get king to h8. Bobby lifts the rook to e3 to show us how to do a rook lift. We get knight to f5, which is a nice defending piece, but Bobby snaps it off the board immediately with bishop takes on f5. John recaptures and we get rook to g3. So starting to look very dangerous with all white's pieces lining up towards the king. Queen to e7, bishop f4, blockading the pawn. So black now needs to deal with the isolated double pawns on the f-file. Bishop develops to d7. We get pawn takes on c7. And bishop to a4 from John. So with the discovery on the bishop and also hitting the c-pawn, we get bishop dropping back to f4. We get takes and a rook to e3, hitting the queen. Queen to d7, and then Bobby doubles up on the e-file. We get rook to g8 from John. h3 from Bobby, taking away any rook moves, and bishop back to a4, at the moment blockading the pawn, also with intention of improving the bishop. We get rook to e6, now attacking the f6 square twice, and with only one defender. Queen to d8, adding a defender. g3 from Bobby, which is a blunder, but not an obvious one. Engine wanted a more active move like bishop to d6. We get rook to e8, trying to eliminate an attacker of the f6 square. We get queen to h6, takes and takes, maintaining pressure on the f6 pawn. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we get queen to f8 blunder from John. Here the engine wants you to take and attack the pawn. In the game we got queen to h5, bishop to d7, attacking the rook. Rook to d6, defended by the bishop, and we get queen to e8. King to h2, just improving the king, and bishop to e6, trying to close things off a bit for Bobby. Bobby pushes the a pawn, queen to e7, Bobby continues to push, and rook to g7. Bobby going all out with the a pawn, and John creates a protected pass pawn, but it's still got a long way to run in order to promote. Get queen to e2, lending some support to the king at the end of the day, and we get bishop to d7, proposing a queen trade. However, Bobby declines the queen trade with queen to a2, and we get queen to e8 blunder from John. Here the engine actually wanted f8 because now you basically just hang the pawn. Bobby snaps off the undefended pawn, rook to e7 controlling the e-file, but Bobby quickly closes the e-file with bishop to e5, and we get John sacking with rook takes bishop on e5. Bobby recaptures and John takes with the queen, hitting the rook at the same time. We get a rook to f8 check, king to h7 hitting the rook, rook to a8 hitting the pawn, and then we get f4 from John, trying to open things up towards white king side. We get rook takes on a7, now hitting the bishop, which is undefended, and also pinned to the king. And we get the intermediary move, f takes on g3 check. However, Bobby calmly recaptures the pawn, and also there's no more checks as the queen is lending support to the king. Queen to e6, defending the bishop and also aligning with the bishop on the h3 square. And Bobby shows us how to give your opponent a headache. Can you find the move? Bobby does, and the move is Rook takes on d7 check. And ladies and gentlemen, it was in this unfortunate position on move 43 in which John was hurting too much so that he resigned. So nice sacrifice from Bobby as he's promoting the pawn no matter what. And for those who are interested, the game could have continued as follows. So promoting, and all the pawns are getting gobbled up, and there's no way Bobby or anyone else can lose in this position. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next one.